for thank you for starting the recording. Yeah, so as I was saying, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first M&E training session for 2025 on the session report writing. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So I think just before we start, I just want to introduce who the facilitators are. So it's basically the M&E team for South Africa. So Giovanni, I'm the M&E lead here in South Africa, but also global. And then I'm joined by my phenomenal team, Kinilwe, Matilda, Oratile, and Karabo. So what we're, I think, first going to do is just as a little icebreaker, Tilly has something that she has planned for us just to loosen up everyone, get you excited for the session. We're very excited for it.
Thank you
Over to you, Tilly.
Thank you very much, Kira, for that. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone is energized. I know it's cold in SA, but welcome. And a quick check-in in the chats. I want you to type an emoji representing your current mood and a short explanation as to why you're feeling that way. A quick, let's say 2 minutes.
Down with flow.
I don't see any chats coming in. All right, Kinila says brrr because it's cold. Delma, thank you so much for that. I see you smiling. It's a Saturday and I'm looking forward to some rest. I know, right? Okay, sit back, chill, because we're going to take you through a very informative session. Thank you everyone for responding in the chats. That shows that we are here, we're kicking, we're alive, getting warmed up. If it was physical, I was gonna get you moving. I should have actually made get up from your chairs and let's move, but hey, I was kind enough. Thank you so much for joining. Over to our next slide, please. All right, I would love for any volunteers to pop up, unmute, and please read for us our Sisters Keeper prayer to set the tone for the session and get us into starting the session. Anyone at all?
I will go.
Thank you, Linda.
I am my sister's keeper. I will build my sister up, encourage her, empower her, and pray for her. I have no reason to talk about her, tear her down, be jealous of her, or to compete with her. I'm going to stand behind her and help push her into destiny.
Pretty woman pray. Thank you so much for that. As we head into our next slide, I will hand it back to you, Kiravani.
Thanks, Tilly. Thanks, Linda, for that, and thanks, Lady, for contributing to the ice breaker. So just in terms of the content that we are going to cover in this training session, we'll briefly do a background on M&E. We'll cover the importance of the session reports, as well as the data sources required to put together a good session report. We then get into the heart of the training session, which is the structure of the session report, and then also provide just a few tips and learnings that we've seen over the years in terms of how to write a good quality session report. And then we're going to seal the deal and wrap it all up in a little activity that the team has put together for us. Okay, so let's talk about monitoring and evaluation. Two things we often hear together, but they're not exactly the same. You'll see that they're shown like a yin and yang symbol, and that's intentional. They're closely connected and really rely on each other. So monitoring is what we do during the program. We check in regularly. Are the mentees attending? Are they participating? Are they growing in confidence and skills? It's like keeping a pulse on how things are going in real time and using what we see to tweak or improve the sessions. Then we've got evaluation, and that's when we take a step back. Did this work? Was it effective? Are we making the kind of impact that we want? It helps us refine the program by changing our strategies, improving the content, or figuring out what to do more or less of. And the funny thing is, once we evaluate, we make changes and we go right back to monitoring again. So it's really a loop, they feed into each other. So this approach of monitoring and evaluation, it helps us stay responsive and intentional. And ultimately, it makes our mentoring stronger and more meaningful. So when we talk about monitoring, think of it as keeping a finger on the pulse of the program, making sure that everything is on track and functioning as it should. First, monitoring is about using information to improve performance. It's not just about collecting data for the sake of it. It's about learning from the data and making meaningful adjustments. Second, it involves routine tracking, checking progress against the targets that we've set. Are we reaching the right number of mentees? Are the sessions happening as planned? Are mentors engaged? And third, it's ongoing. So monitoring happens throughout the entire D4G cycle, not just at the beginning or at the end. So what exactly do we monitor? A lot more than just the sessions. We're looking at what's happening with our mentees, how are we doing on fundraising, how communications are landing, and also how partnerships and outreach are progressing. All of these areas feed into the central hub of monitoring. So if something is off in one area, monitoring then helps us pick it up quickly and act. It's really our early warning system. It helps us catch challenges, adapt in real time, and ultimately stay aligned with our mission. So Tilly will now take us through the importance of the session reports.
Thank you for that, Kira. And as we know, that session reports are very vital to the G4G program success. They're more than just paperwork. So they dive into our mission forward, right? So the core, the why behind the what, the importance of the session reports. We have 4 key benefits. Number 1, we have assessing impact. This provides evidence of what works and tracks participant growth and program effectiveness, right? Number 2, we have continuous improvement. This enables us to make real-time adjustments. It helps us identify successful techniques to replicate, and it helps us support better planning for the future sessions. And 3, we have accountability to stakeholders. This is very important because this helps us create transparency with our sponsors. It keeps G4G global and country teams informed, and it helps us demonstrate responsible program implementations, right? As you guys know, every time we give report writing, this is everything that is showcased. So this is something we can give to our stakeholders, very important. And fourth and final is fundraising support. This helps us capture compelling stories and testimonies. It helps us provide data for grant applications. And it also builds donor trust through documented results. And the best practices for us is for us to, number 1, please complete reports promptly after sessions because your memory is still very fresh and it helps you put it in the best format possible. Include specific details and observations, document both successes and challenges, and then focus on participant experiences and outcomes. But remember, quality reporting directly contributes to the program sustainability, and this helps us transform more girls' lives. Thank you so much for this, and I think I will pass it over to Guinea for data. Thank you so much.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining on a Saturday. Just sorry, as we're talking, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat and we will address them as we continue, because I know this can be a lot of information at once. So I'm going to be talking about the data sources for the session reports. So where do we get the information that we need to write the reports for each session? So some 5, 6, depending on the kind of session you have, sources come in. So for in-person sessions, so when you're running cohorts that are in person, you will not use the Zoom recording. So you'll have the attendance register, your mentee mentor guidebook that helps you, is like a good reference point of what the session was about in case you maybe missed some key elements. The guest speaker bio, mentee feedback, mentor feedback. And then if you are doing online, the nice thing about doing online also is that you can always go back and rewatch it, the session, just to like jog your memory on what happened in the session so that you can write it down. So the first part is the attendance register. Super important. You need to know how many girls attended the session. You need to know, firstly for each session, but also to see at the end which girls qualify to graduate. Because remember, we're saying you have to at least have attended 4 sessions. Some countries are doing 5 sessions that you have to attend, but it's up to you. But 4 is actually the minimum. So it's a good way to monitor that. As I said, the mentee mentor guidebook, this is good to refer to in case you want to add things about the session or like key elements that you want to focus on. And you're like, oh, what was the key element for art of communication? That's where you go back to your guidebook. And also for the notes that you take during the session. The guest speaker bio, because in the session report, we do talk about who came to the session, who spoke. So it's important to know who they are and to get their credentials correct. So always having that on hand is very important. Usually before the session, the cohort lead will send you that. So if you're the person that's writing the session report, you can always go back to them and ask for it. Mentee feedback form and mentor feedback form. These two are critical because it's a big part of your session reporting. I'm going to actually change the slide and show you the mentee feedback. Give me one moment. Okay, just to make sure, does everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect.
Yes, Kenny.
Okay, good. So mentee feedback form, we have a template. Okay, so if any of you are starting a cohort and need it, please reach out to us. We can definitely share it with you. So we have a template set. You can, as a cohort or a country, decide that you want to add extra questions. That is perfectly fine. But this is the basis of what will be needed. So for the mentees, we ask them firstly information, email, full name, for their full name and the email address. This won't be mentioned in the report, their name, just for like privacy reasons, but it's always good to know in case there is something that they've written that you need to refer back to them for, as a cohort or as the leads in the cohorts. The cohort name, so which cohort are they doing it for? So when we do the report later, you'll see we refer to Athlone Girls High. Their circle name. So remember, we break up into little circles, and it's always good to know which circle this person is from, in case, as I said, they write something that happened that they need to be referred to, you know who exactly to go to and which mentor was leading that circle, because they will have a better relationship with them. So we first start by asking them to rate the session on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best possible score, and then they'll fill that in. With that, what did they enjoy most about the session? This helps you also so that if you know, okay, they really enjoyed when the icebreaker was something about movement, like running up and down, just knowing that in the next sessions, this is something they enjoy doing and continue doing it. After today's session, what do you feel most empowered to do? So each session is trying to elicit something different from the girls, right? So in the art of communication, I keep referring to it because it is my favorite session. In the art of communication, we're trying to get them to be confident speakers, right? And speak with purpose. So you want to know that that is what they got out of the session. In negotiations, you want them to feel more confident to walk into a room and negotiate for themselves and others, right? So you want to make sure that you have hit what you needed to do in the session. And this is a good way to check it. Did the session help improve your skills? Now, this is also really good to know. And if they say no, they can write it afterwards, like, what is it they feel like was missing? And yes, even with the yes, how did they feel like they got those skills? Okay, so this is like two things. So our yes and no, our short answers, and then our long answers, so that we get more information from people. Oh, sorry. After today's, what do I feel most empowered to do? You know, sometimes it takes a while for the girls to feel like they can do something now. And it's always interesting to see like their first feedback to like the last one and all the things, how they progress. This is also a good question to ask. Based on learnings in this session, identify some of the specific challenges you'll make in your life. And this is good because you're challenging them to not just leave what they've learned in the session and never use it again, getting them to think about how can I use what I've learned today in the outside world, in my life, in whatever I want to do. Okay. And a final question that we write is, how could you do better to improve your future sessions? This is also important, especially if you feel that, you know, the girls aren't talking and stuff. This might help you get an answer to what's going on. As I said, you can add more questions to your forms. And if you do need this template for your cohorts, please reach out to us. We'll gladly share. Okay, so that's the mentee feedback. Important to know when giving out this feedback, because you want the highest percentage possible. It's good to give it either like set some time at the end of the session, especially if it's in person, it's so much easier because you can just say, okay, last 10 minutes, everyone sit down and just complete the form. Online, in some cohorts, some of the mentors would like give the girls devices if they don't have, like give us their phone and let them fill it out then and there, so that you get the feedback immediately and it's still fresh. The session's still fresh in their head. So they know what they liked, didn't like, what they learned, what they didn't learn, right? Online, you can also set time aside, or immediately after the session, send out that feedback form. And then constantly remind the girls to do it, because you want as many of the girls to respond as possible. We also give out mentor feedback because we also want to hear from our mentors, right? Same basis, email, name and surname. Please indicate your cohort, your circle, right? And we also ask them to rate the session. And do you believe the objectives of the session were met? Okay. And if they said no, why? And this is also important to get the mentor's perspective on what happened in the session, especially if they were not the ones that were running the session. You know, it's good to hear what everyone else thought of the session. Insights for them to share with us. And also just before your cohorts or your sessions, usually you have like a mentor meetup. This is a good way to discuss certain things that came up from the previous one to improve the next session. In your journey with G4G to date, has the program impacted you in any way at a personal level? We do want to impact the young girls, but we also want the mentors to be impacted. We also want them to feel that, you know, they are learning and also that they are making a difference. And it's good to find out if we are achieving that. Okay, and it's good for them to share why, because we can say yes or no, but also it's good to know how, why, what is happening, what are they learning, how are they growing as mentors in the sessions, and then recommendations for the future always helps for the next sessions coming up. Okay, so those are the two generic ones we have for mentors and mentees. I'm going to stop sharing so I can go back, and then I'm going to ask Kirvani to change to the next slide. Okay. So I've showed you the feedback form. I'm going to take a step back to say, what is a feedback form? As I said, for mentors and mentees, very important. And then also, who do we send the feedback form to and who sends them? I think that I've covered who we send it to, mentors and mentees that have attended the session. And it is sent out usually by the coordinator of the cohort. And they'll either send it, depending on the kind of cohort you're running, via email, via WhatsApp group, via, I think if you want to print them out and let them fill it out in person and on paper, also an option. There are various ways you can send it, but the coordinator collects that information for us. Okay, so each cohort will have their own coordinator. Coordinators, actually more than one, that will send it out. Okay. Why do we have this? Again, firstly, for our session reports, as Tilly mentioned earlier, this is vital for us if you want to get funding for lessons learned. It's also a good storytelling method. So if somebody, you say, hey, join Girls4Girls, and they're like, okay, what I want to read out about it. This is a nice, easy way to share with them what actually happens in the sessions. Okay. I don't know if there are any questions. Okay, yes. Maybe Pusa brought up something that's very important. Mentees are usually very good at responding to feedback forms. Mentors are sometimes our problem. I remember I once ran a cohort where we were about 6 mentors and 2 would respond. And I'm like, where's everyone else? We also as mentors have to demonstrate that. We have to be the example to our mentees. So it is important as mentors. Your voices are important. And it's also good to remember that we do want to hear from you. We do want to improve from you. So as Mabel said, it is disheartening, but it is very important for us as mentors to demonstrate that action of completing a feedback form and of doing it in a timely manner. So even in that 10 minutes, as mentors, do the same. Complete your feedback form. Okay. For the in-person sessions, yes. So if your cohort, as Jeanette said, if your cohort is in person, you can get them printed out and let them fill it out, because sometimes that does work out better. The transcribing part might be an extra work, but you at least have the feedback. That is good. Okay. If there are no more questions, I am going to hand over to, no, I'm not going to hand over. Am I?
Well, Kenny, initially we thought this little first portion was going to take a little longer and that we should maybe take a 5-minute break, but I feel like we kind of flew through the first half. So I think I'm actually thinking, and if I can maybe just get thumbs up in the chat, is everyone okay if we continue with the session? Don't think it will actually run until 12 p.m. We could potentially finish early and free you guys for the rest of your Saturday. If that's okay, that's the consensus that we have.
I saw 1 thumbs up.
I also saw one thumbs up from Kinjal. Yep, I think maybe let's continue. Okay, great. Thumbs up everywhere. Great. Thanks, Kenny, and thanks, Tilly. I think just before we get into the heart of the session, which is the actual structure of the report, could I maybe just ask that everyone switches on their camera just so we can take a little screenshot of everyone's beautiful faces. I really want to remember this moment. I think this training session is a big part for me as it's my first public thing in the M&E space. So I want to remember it and I want to share it with the global teams also, just to show how things are going in South Africa.
Yeah, please close the screen. Stop sharing the screen.
Oh.
Yeah, so that I can see everyone.
Sorry.
No problem. I can see it's only a few. Other ladies, are we opening our cameras? Aniki, Linda, Velma, Sarah.
Mine is not working, so I can't show. I think my picture there it's much better than the black screen.
Okay, Nurain. Oh, there you are. Sarah. Prudence, Patience.
Your is always in space or like an island in the background. That's all. Oh, the background is always like an island or in space or something. Wow.
Okay, I think this is.
I don't know how. I'm sorry.
Right, can everybody smile? Say cheese.
Got it.
Okay. One last time, say G for G.
G for G.
Okay, almost there. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Karabo. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen again. Okay, can you guys just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so okay, cool. Like I said, we're now going to get into the heart of the training session, which is basically the structure of the report. So the structure of the report, just as a brief overview before I hand over to Tilly, there are 7 main aspects that's covered in the structure of the report, which is basically we have an overview, we have an introduction, we have the inspirational segment, we have feedback from the circles, feedback from the mentor-mentee form, we have lessons learned, and then we tie it all up with appreciation. So over to you, Tilly.
Thank you very much for that. And as we go into the overview, we'd find that the report structure follows a clear flow with several key sections. Now, the report framework has 3 components: the sections, which is the overview that I'll be covering today; the purpose, which is the why. This explains the context of the session, including the dates, the format, participant numbers, and the data source, of course, which is the attendance register in this case. So based on the image that you see in the screen, I will be giving you a sample report content. And this is the report structure that we generally share if you guys want an example of how to write an efficient report for G4G, right? As you can see, we have the title, in this case, G4G South Africa Athlone Girls High School Cohort Session 1 Reports. I think in the title itself, you can see that it's clear. We know where it's from, we know which cohorts, we know what session and the name of that session. So that's the very important part of it. All right, so the date information. The session was held on the 27th of March 2021. Very important because we had to date it back to when we started, how we're going, and as we're growing stronger, we need to see the progression of all the sessions. So the date is important. Attendance details. Over here, we have 33 mentees and 15 mentors participated. This is highlighted in green, as you can see. Very important because, I mean, this is data. This is monitoring and evaluation. We work on data. Data speaks louder than words itself. Participation context. Now, this is the part that is, I think, for a while we took for granted, but we need to know how many people initially signed up. So in this case, we have 58 mentees initially signed up, but some could not join due to equipment limitations, scheduling conflicts, and that is all highlighted in orange. So the overall impression in this case, the mentees described the session as energetic, electric, and intense with a spunky, inquisitive, right? Of course, photos are very important. This helps us document participation and engagement. Now, this format demonstrates how session reports should capture both factual information, which is your dates, your numbers, your attendees, or attendance, and the qualitative observations, which is the energy levels, the participant engagement, and the color highlighting distinguishes between the positive outcomes, which is the green part, and the challenges faced, which is the orange part, right? So quick recap. Because I feel like I'm going too fast, please, if you have any questions, drop them in the chats. I will definitely have a look at it. So in this section, we saw the importance of following the structural format, how to balance factual reporting with descriptive observations, and the value of including both successes and challenges in the report. This part sets the tone. It's an overview of how the report is going to kind of play out and how photos help document participation and engagement. Let me just check if we have any questions. Oh no, I was just, we're on the overview, Linda. We're still on the overview. I'm just explaining the parts in more detail so you guys understand all. I know it's short, but all these parts are very important to actually note. Okay, so over to our next.
Oh, sorry, I see Sandra has her hand up.
Yes,
Yes, Sandra.
I also have a very quick question. So will
Yes.
it be then possible that we get like a, like an example report that is editable? So for example, this one was now the one from 2021. So if we could have this and just update, with our
So
date, our
like a
attendees,
template.
like a template. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
We'll note
Yes,
it.
no, definitely. I think
Yeah.
at the end of this session, we will share the slide deck.
Yes,
We will
perfect.
then also share an example, a word template of the session report.
That would be
And then,
wonderful. Thank you.
okay.
Great. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
Jeanette.
Hi, ladies. A quick one with the purpose of the session, the why behind the session. Can you unpack that, Tilly? I know we're supposed to know what it means, but in a practical sense, what exactly is supposed to be captured there? I don't know if I missed it, but when you say purpose and the why behind the session. So also, I just want to clarify, we are still on the overview, and the overview has 3 segments. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can just unpack when you say purpose of is it the purpose of the report that you capture, or the purpose of the session where you would speak about which session it was? If you can just clarify that, please.
All right.
Thank you.
I mentioned it explains the context of the session. So this just includes the dates, the formats, and the participation numbers. That is the reason that you are compiling this first section of the overview.
Sorry, I know it's supposed to be straightforward like that, but in my mind, when you say the purpose of, I'm thinking, do you speak about like the topic, the module that was covered? Is that the purpose that you would also add on there?
So the
Or-
purpose of the whole report is
Mhm.
is that reason. But for this section, it's just setting the scene, the date, the virtual
date.
versus in person, the number. So basically, you're telling us how the session is going to go just by the overview, just by the first part of it before we get into the intro and everything. This kind of tells you somewhat the bulk of the report. Let me just put it that way. But in this session, we're just focusing on the dates, the overview session. We're focusing on the dates, the context, and the format of the whole session. And
Yes, I think you,
including the numbers. Yeah.
yeah, so Tilly, if I can then just help you out there. So Tilly will then go on to the introductions because obviously you have an overview and you have an introduction, and she'll cover that more in detail. But in the introduction portion is where you'll cover a bit more about information regarding the session itself. So which session was it? Was it courageous leadership? Was it building trust? The overview is just, it's more often than not, it's a single paragraph that will just highlight the key factual stuff about that session. So, going to repeat a bit of what Tilly said. So in terms of the date, important which session it was, just the number of mentees that attended, and then also a few adjectives in terms of what was the vibe like in that session, how were the girls in it, so that it kind of sets the scene for the rest of the report that will follow. Tilly, I think we can go on to introduction, and I think that might then just clear up of the question Jeanette had.
Just before you go, I think of it this
Yes.
way, Jeanette. I think of these session reports, if I had to hand it over to a stranger, let's say my neighbor, and say, oh, this was our session on the art of communication, and she doesn't have time to read the whole thing. This is the good quick summary of what happened. And then she'll be like, okay, I'll read the rest later. You know, that's that pull you in section is what I think of it as. So the purpose is to just draw the person in, but also if the person doesn't have time and they have to just read one section, let it be the overview.
I hope
Okay,
that
Tilly,
makes
back
sense.
to you.
All right. So into the intro section, introduction is very important. And in this report, we started, well, in every report, we have to start with the formal opening. So you have to document who officially welcomed participants and introduced the G4G program. And this person has to be well informed because we want to share the background of our program and why we initially started. In this case, it was Mam Rita Motlana. And the example is, as part of the welcome, Rita Motlana and her role, which is South African country team leader, introduced G4G to the mentees, right? That's the example that's given on here for starting it with a formal opening. And then we head into include how introductions were handled. And then we quote, then invited mentors to individually introduce themselves. So you just you kind of giving us the whole part of the intro, how you introduce yourself, how you started the session, because it's important to have introductions so they can differentiate who are mentors and who are mentees, because we do have mentees who just join as mentors. It's also important to kind of highlight and capture that diversity information. Right, so you note that the professional backgrounds represented amongst the mentors. We highlight geographical diversity, provinces, countries, examples. For example, in this report, because there was people from different backgrounds and ethnic groups or diversities, that's what was showcased in this one. So, for example, there was a nice mix of national backgrounds. We have mentors from various provinces, and then include any international representation that enriches the program as well. Okay, so mentions special participant characteristics. There will be any interesting participant details that demonstrate the program's success. For example, of note is the fact that 6 of the mentors are university students, of whom 4 are former G4G mentees. Now, this shows us this shows the program's impact and sustainability, right? Very important, because then we want to leave them, with hope that, you know what, I also want to be a mentor. If she can do it, I can. Document the icebreaker activity. Name who facilitated the activity and describe what the activity was. In this case, the name is Sheila. So Sheila took the cohort through a calming icebreaker on the topic self-care routines, right? And of course, when you mention the name Sheila, remember to always put the professional background or what they do, and then explain briefly how participants engaged with the activity that was then presented. And then lastly, connect to session objectives. Clearly link how the introductory activities prepared participants for the main session topic. So I'll give an example. This helped start the bonding process and got the group ready for the key sessions on building trust. Right. Remember to write a descriptive, engaging style that captures both facts and the energy of the session in this section. Use specific details rather than generalization, and be sure to explain how each element of the introduction served the overall session purpose. Okay. Do we have any questions?
I don't see anything in the chat either. Okay, thank
Okay.
you for that, Tilly.
You're welcome.
I will then take us through the next 2 sections of the session report. So I think something to note when actually writing the report, it's a summarized written version of what has happened in your session. And you'll see that the order of the report follows the same flow. So you start off your session with the icebreaker. You started off with getting the numbers in terms of how the girls like the number of mentees that have attended, and then we have our speaker, our inspirational segment that then follows as the starting point of the session. And so you'll see that the inspirational segment is then the third part of the session report. And so this is basically the part of the report that focuses on how the guest speaker's story was used to highlight the session's key messages. So you'll see this aligns with G4G's first pillar, inspiration and learning through sharing. And the goal here is to basically capture how the speaker's lived experience helped bring the concept of the session to life. So when you see in this example, you can see that in the case, the speaker, Rita, basically introduced the topic of building trust by engaging the mentees in a reflection activity. She then unpacked some common myths about women not working well together and flipped the narrative, showing how powerful we are when we come together. She drew from her personal experience of building a trusted village and even then gave a shout out to the women from the Athlone group who helped launch G4G back in 2019. So basically, in your report, you're not just summarizing what the speaker said, you're highlighting how her story connected to the session's theme. What were the key messages that were emphasized? How did the story inspire or resonate with the mentees? What sort of questions did they then ask the speaker? How was their response to the session? So basically, in this part of the report, we're not just recapping what the speaker said, we're showing how their story helped drive home the session's theme. It's about basically capturing the moments that inspired the mentees and how those stories brought the learning to life. So I think a bit of advice in terms of how to also go about this session is you will need the guest speaker bio, which Kenny spoke about in terms of the data sources. And then it also helps if you know that you are the one who's going to be preparing the session report to just, take down some notes if it is an in-person session of what really stuck out to you in terms of what was the response from the mentees, but also the mentors, because I feel like the session with the speaker, it not only inspires and motivates the mentees, but it also has an impact on the mentors. And I think that's also important to convey in this section. You'll see that, we love using the G4G colors. So typically when we are using quotations, from what the speaker shared, you'll see that it's in pink, it's italics, it stands out. And so that's so even if someone doesn't read the entire paragraph, and they just read the important little bits that are in bold or are in a different color, that is sometimes enough to get that message across. Are there any questions regarding this before I move on to the circles? Sorry, I can't. Okay, see all clear from Boipuso. Okay, cool. So then moving on to the circles. So again, generally the way your session would flow after your inspirational segment, we then break out into our circles to kind of unpack themes that were covered by both the speaker, but also the themes that are part of the guide for that particular session. So again, the data source that you would use for this portion of the report, again, it comes from after the circle sessions, we have a little feedback where we get a representative from each circle to share what went on in their circles. Obviously, there are certain things, and it comes with the whole building trust. Not everything, some things are shared in confidence. So again, this is just a highlight, and basically highlights the feedback from the circle sessions. So you will recall from your mentoring experience and your training that the circles are often the first space where the mentees really begin to feel safe. They begin to feel seen. They begin to feel heard. And it's also where, as a mentor, we typically see the first signs of confidence, connection, and openness developing in the mentees. I can recall from the sessions that I've mentored, we start off session one and you have the girls that are very reserved and they're shy. They don't speak a lot. They don't want to volunteer to do the feedback. And as the sessions evolve, you see that change and that growth in the mentees. So this is one of my favorite portions of the session. And so basically, in terms of the example, you'll see that in this session, the feedback basically highlights how the mentors facilitated engaging exercises from letter writing or storytelling to kind of help the mentees reflect and express themselves. And obviously in the first session, building trust, what really stands out is then the creation of the circle names and the norms, which is always such a meaningful part of the first session. So you see here, we had basically 8 circles that were formed, so a quantitative number, and then each of them with powerful names like Wakanda Sisters, Ndlovukazi with confidence, and my dear sister. And these are names that basically reflect the hopes and the dreams and the identities of each group. So including this portion in our session report, it basically helps to capture the emotional tone and growth that is happening in the circles, but also in the mentees as a whole. And it basically sets a stage for us to measure progress in later sessions. Are there any questions on this? Can't see. Yes, Sandra.
I have a quick session. It's not directly related to the report. Just if you could
Yes.
quickly share again how those circles are created, because it will be my very first, cohort that I will attend in
Yes.
September. It's also at Loney. So how do the circles get created? Is it like spontaneously on the side, like with people who seem to be on your page? Is it like this?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
in obviously the sessions that I've mentored in, I think it can be cohort dependent, but we literally, all the girls came in on the first session and we knew we were going to have about 3 to 4 circles, and we just counted and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, and then all the ones grouped up,
Okay.
all the twos grouped up. I think the key thing with the circles is obviously the mentor that's assigned to a circle should be the same mentor for all 6 sessions, because
Yes.
the girls really build a bond with that mentor, and it helps just facilitate a bit better in terms of getting them comfortable and confident. And then I think the other takeaway is then also just to maybe try to have 2 mentors per circle, depending
Yeah.
how big your circles are, just so that if someone can't make it, there is still that familiar person.
Yes, makes sense. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Linda has her hand up and the internet.
Okay, yes, Linda.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to ask, in case you have, for example, 6 to 7 mentees, do you have to probably form 2 circles, or that cohort can be the same circle so that you don't break so much? Thank you.
I think it depends. I personally would probably still, depending on the number of mentors you also have for those 6 or 7 girls. I mean, you could still do, you know, a group of 3 and a group of 4. Or ideally you can still have one big circle. And so that circle session is basically, I mean, your cohort is basically a circle, if that makes sense. I think it depends also, I mean, so prior to the mentoring session, you have your mentees fill out as part of the registration form, you know, what are their challenges, what are they hoping to achieve in the sessions. And I think based on those responses as the cohort lead, you can, you know, make that discretion and that decision on how you want to split up, or if you need to split up in the first place. Okay, thanks, Linda. Yes, Jeanette.
Hi, ladies. Just a comment, I think, and a bit of an observation I've noticed with the girls. When you're forming the circles, it's also maybe a good idea to separate them from their best friend. Try if you can, because they will always want to huddle together and whisper in each other's ears. So just as a practice of my sister's keeper, to try and encourage them come out of their shell and make new friends and get to know new people. That's one. And then the second element is the mentors that are part of a whatever circle. You need to be really, really attentive if it's high school girls. I think in 2 cohorts I had, we were noticing that there were girls that didn't like each other in the circle, to a point where I think 2 of them quit because they were just not getting on within that circle. So to also watch out for little things like that. Yes, we say my sister's keeper, but to really demonstrate and drum it down and what it stands for and try and teach the girls to implement is a big thing. And I think I missed the first time that I saw that there is conflict with the girls, and then when the second cut, I'm like, okay, it's really happening. So those are some of the 2 things I think just to pay attention to.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Jeanette. I think that's definitely true, and something to keep an eye out for. I mean, I think you learn a lot from the circle sessions about the girls, you know, from their body languages also. And I mean, sometimes they go through things outside of the session. And so, you know, it helps for you to just pick up on those things and just to be there for them. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for those questions and those comments. Kinney will now take us through the heart of the report. At least that's what I like to see this section as. So yeah, over to you, Kinney.
Okay, so as I said in the beginning, when I spoke earlier, our data comes from our data source for this section is the feedback form. So super important that we get as many of the goals to complete it as possible. 100% response rate is super ideal, but try and aim for like 85% and above. So at least, you know, it's a good response rate. Will you share these notes? Yes, we will share. Sorry, Jeanette, I just saw your question. Let me actually move this so I don't get distracted. So when doing this section, we're going to start with the mentee feedback and what they said. A good way to write this section is a combination of qualitative and quantitative, right? It's just giving you 2 sides to it. It's always nice to read 94% and then be like, oh, that's high. And then you're like, wait a minute, what does 94% mean? So in this case, it means 31 of the 33 mentors did respond to the session, to the feedback form, or did complete the feedback form, which is a good number. It's only 2 goals missing. So you know, okay, you know what? This is way over majority of the group. And I can say that this feedback is reliable. Okay, so the more goals, the better. I always say follow the feedback form to structure how you're writing it. So the first question we ask them is to rate the session on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest possible. So start with that one and then write how many goals did give it a 5, How many girls gave it a 4? How many girls, hopefully nobody gives it a 3 or a 2 or a 1. Let's hope none of those happen. If there is a 1 or a 2, a low score, usually at some point the girls will mention something that happened that probably did contribute to that score. Always good to write about it. It's because it's a learning point, right? It might sound, they might say something like, think for exception, I didn't feel like I could speak in the circles or something. And, it might just be like, oh my gosh, whatever, just one person said it. But it is important because they might be speaking for what other people are going through. So it's good to note it in the feedback and in the session, but also to say, for the future, to make sure that each girl does get a chance to speak. Okay, so just side noting that. So we're going to start with that. And also, explanations of why the ratings were the ratings. Next is to follow the next question. After today's session, what do you feel most empowered to do? Again, mixture of quantitative and qualitative in the report writing. So 12 mentees, which is 36%, reported feeling confident and empowered. Now, all the girls might have not said confident and empowered in that structure, like saying it in that sentence. They might have said it in a different way, but the base of what they said was feeling confident and empowered. When reading the feedback, you're going to read and look for common words, common phrases that are said by the girls, and then bunch it up. Okay, so for example, if there are 5 respondents and all of them, 2 of them keep saying the word confident, I feel confident, and one says, my confidence has increased. Okay, now we know confidence is a key word. Okay, and then another girl says she feels empowered to start running a marathon. Now we know empowerment is another word. So bunch those up and say, okay, 2 girls reported feeling confident. 1 girl reported feeling more empowered. And then the 2 other girls, I'm doing maths in my head now. And then the 2 other girls said they are now feeling more empowered to start a business. Okay, so looking for common threads is important with each section as you write. And also it gives you more of an understanding that there is a collective growth, but in different aspects or in certain aspects. That's one. Earlier on, Kiravani, it was you that spoke about the writing in pink. So highlighting key sentences that are said and putting it in pink so that it stands out. And it's also good because these are quotes directly from the girls' feedback. All right, we're not making it up. This is what they said. This is how they felt about the session. Always very powerful to hear straight from their mouths. I want to say the horse's mouth, but that sounds horrible. But straight from the girls, hearing what they feel about the session, how they feel they've grown from the session, what they learned from the session. Always good to do that. Highlight it in pink so that it stands out. So again, if somebody's just skimming through the report, they get a bit of what is actually being said by the girls in these certain sections. You do not have to write about every single section from the feedback form. Okay, so for example, I'm just going to switch back. Give me 1 second. I went to the screen instead of sharing the screen, so that's, clever of me. Okay, so I'm gonna just go to, let's see. I would say write about majority of the questions, but what could you do better to improve future sessions? Maybe that could be combined to the end of the report, which we'll talk about a bit later. Just space-wise, because you don't want to write a report also that is too long. People get bored. And then people start, I'm not going to read the end of it, which is also important. So trying to combine questions together would be a good idea, so it's not too long. Or, for example, this part at the bottom, what could you do better in future sessions? That could be the insights at the end of the report, putting it in that section. So just, because if you write about each one and say, separately, it could become a very long report. And we try and aim for about 2 pages maximum for a report for each session so that it's not too long for people to read. And that's why, for example, when you do the scale of 1 to 1 to 5, and then what did you enjoy most about today's session? That can be one paragraph together or 1 or 2 lines together. Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to just mention about that. And then we'll do the same for mentors. Mentor feedback, again, you write new section, mentor feedback. So as we have mentee feedback here, you'll have the next session be mentor feedback, okay, the rating of the scales, and just like we did for this one, also taking out certain quotes from what the mentors have said, because their voices are also very important in the session, so that we can highlight things they've said, writing, again, using the qualitative and quantitative approach, as we've done in this report, is also very important. I think I've said all. I do see a question. Can you repeat a session if the feedback from mentees requests for that? We actually had this situation in 2020 when we were doing online sessions. And we did we repeated the art of communication. That keeps coming up. But why we did it is because first we had low attendance and we just felt like the girls didn't get it. And then the feedback had reflected that. And we did repeat the session, which actually then became super beneficial because I think the girls then felt more confident. They felt like they had a second chance of doing it, and it came out really well. So yes, you can. In that feedback report that we wrote for the second session, it was like Art of Communication Part 2. We wrote that we redid it. So also it's good to note that, like we had the first session, the girls felt like they didn't learn things properly, or they didn't grasp it correctly. So we redid that. To do that, for us, luckily, there was no time constraint. Like we had time. It was also COVID. Everyone was at home. So, it was easy for us to do, but it might be a bit difficult if it's in person. It depends on various factors. So you'd go by session and see, actually, did they not grasp it at all? Is it the whole group? All of that. So you have to analyze it and then just talk to your other mentors and the coordinators and see if you do need to repeat the session. Yeah. Jeanette?
Hi, ladies, again. So I have never had a situation. I don't know what happened to my laptop. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I've never had a situation where there's a repeat of a session, but now that you're mentioning it, my thought is, if there are time constraints, I'm thinking about Tandolazi, for example, where we strictly have the 2 hours. And if, I'm just thinking out loud, should there ever be a request for a repeat, would be very difficult. But an idea is, because it's an online session, the Saturday maybe that we do not meet the girls, or the day that is open for those that still feel need extra help, we can maybe just mention it and say on the communication, if anyone feels they would like a repeat of this session, or you've got questions, maybe we can assign the mentor that was leading that session, if they are available, to help the ones that feel they need extra help, or the mentors that are involved could communicate and choose a time where they could even offer just an online session where they help the girls out, or take their notes and then the next time they see them, give it to them, or on WhatsApp or something. So I'm just thinking those are some of the ideas where there are time constraints.
Yeah, that is a possibility. Again, this is a case by case. It's a very unique situation, and take a case by case would be good. But yeah, I agree. If you have an in-person situation and don't have that constraint, then maybe do it online on a Saturday when you're free. You don't. I think you don't have to do it for, like, let's say this for this example, 31 of the mentees, and 30 of them said 5s and 4s, and then one person said a 1 and they didn't understand the session. You could just, especially the circle lead mentor, could go to them and go explain to them. You don't have to hold a whole session, but maybe per person, if it's a low number of those that maybe didn't grasp the section. I'm going to go to Linda and then maybe Puso.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know, my camera, when I try to put it on the video, it somehow logs me out. But just listening to what has been mentioned, if in case you're doing in person, Okay, for virtual, maybe you can do a recording, but in person, at times there's a challenge. And then I'm just wondering if probably the guest speaker you had is not able to do it, you can bring in a different guest speaker. Yeah, that's what. And then for the feedback, I brought it out because if probably you have 7 and 6 of them say they would like a repeat, then I feel probably just organize a separate session for the same. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes, 100%. Thank you. Maybe Kuso?
Thank you. I agree with all the suggestions, but I'm also thinking in the beginning of the session, we normally do a recap of the previous session. That can also be used to, after understanding why they need to have a repeat, like the previous speaker saying you might not be able to get the guest speaker again, but maybe that might not be an issue, but just find out the points that need to be emphasized and use I think during the recap, just to find out if everybody feels the same, and then what issues need to be emphasized more, and take it from there. If you have time, like spend few minutes on the recap of the previous one to check if everybody has the same understanding or if there are issues that need to be re-emphasized, and use the people in the room to maybe make things clearer if they understand it better, so that at the end, at least you all, even those that wanted a repeat, have some understanding, just in case you cannot repeat it, especially for in person. Like they said, with online, it's much easier because you can always go back to the recordings. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, maybe Kuso. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, but just to emphasize, as maybe Kuso said, the circle time is also, as the mentors, is a good time to like review what has happened in the beginning, and also just, you know, for the girls to ask questions, because sometimes in a bigger group it's a bit intimidating to be asking a question. So in the circles, encourage them to like just make sure they understood what the key points are for the session, what the speaker was talking about, and taking it from there. Then from there, discussing it further and further. Yeah. Okay.
Kenny, if I can then I think just a little add on to everything that's been covered. I know sometimes it can be a little daunting to actually go through, you know, the Excel, the data from the feedback forms, especially with the qualitative responses, which is most of the questions. And you know, I think if you guys are struggling with that in terms of, you know, identifying the common themes, we are available to assist where we can. You do have an M&E focal person as part of your cohort. So I think, you know, they're more than welcome to reach out to myself. And I think the rest of my team would also be willing to help where that is. And we can, you know, help you go through that data and, you know, to identify the themes. Yeah, if it is a little daunting.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kenny. We're almost done with the structure of the report. So Karabo will actually then take us through the last little stretch in terms of the structure of the report. So over to you, Karabo.
Thank you, Karavani. Thank you, Kini. Hi, ladies. Hope everyone is doing well. So now, as we get into the lesson length section, so with this section, right, it helps us to reflect on what didn't go so well. So we basically talk about like challenges, your time management issues, tech problems, or low participation, and why they happened, right? So for instance, what Jeanette has mentioned earlier on regarding the 2 girls that were not getting along, right? So it's always important to have it on your report and to say, okay, this is the challenge that we had. And also I would recommend that you write how you had solved the challenge, right? Because yeah. So basically by identifying these issues, the coordination team can make better plans for the next time or the next session. Basically, it helps us improve how we deliver future sessions and avoid repeating the same mistakes, right? So as also you can see that to address the issue of imbalance across circles, the mentees that were not able to attend. So you need to make sure that you have all the challenges and why that happened so that next time everything goes smoothly, all right? Can I have the next slide, Kiravani?
Akrob, I think before you move on, I think just to
Okay.
reiterate something important that you said, while it's important to list the challenges that we've experienced in a session, it's also then important to address how we're going to deal with that challenge. So for example, again, with Tandalwazi, we have time constraints, and so time management is something that's quite important with that, if it's equipment challenges, technical stuff, just to help being prepared for those challenges. So I think it's also important to list how we're going to address it. And I think also with the lessons learned, it helps us, it feeds into how we can then carry on the rest of the sessions, and what needs to be improved on, what we can do better.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Back to you, Karabo.
So as we enter into the appreciation, so this is also important, right? Because it is a way to recognize everyone who contributed to the session, from like your participants, your facilitators, and the partners, right? So as you can see, as we highlighted there, that we were thanking Zanip, who covered the telecoms LC data. So you need to outline everyone who contributed towards the data. You need to outline and thank the mentors, because I mean, if we didn't have the mentors there, I don't think we would have a session, right? So this also serves an important purpose. It shows that G4G Global, the country teams and donors, that we value support and we use it well, right? So this accountability helps build trust and supports fundraising for future activities. So you have to also have like the pictures of the people who contributed, the mentors, because the visuals are always important. We need to see who's behind the support. Right. Any questions on the segment? No. Okay. Can I have the next slide? So now this is almost the last slide that we have. So as we get into the attributes of a quality report, right? So a good report has to be clear, meaning that easy to read and understand, no confusion or mixed messages, right? Number 2, succinct. It has to be straight to the point without too much unnecessary details. Number 3, it has to be evidence-based, which we use real data or examples to back up what you are saying. Excuse me. Number 4, use of visuals and colors. So this makes the report more engaging and easier to follow, right? So, I mean, the reader will be interested more to say, oh, okay, I see that there are visuals, there are colors. Why is it highlighted? Let me go to that part, right? So, and then number 5, qualitative, sharing stories and emotions, which shows the human side. So we need to feel what maybe a mentee has said on the feedback form, that they really loved the session. So we need to feel, we need to see what they meant, right? We need to imagine it. And then quantitative includes numbers or stats that shows progress or areas that needs to work. And then the last one, standardized format. So keeps the look and the structure of reports consistent and professional. So basically, this one will at least make the reader want to go back again and read it again. So yeah. Any questions, ladies? Okay.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Thanks, Karabo, for that. So I think that before we go into the activity, are there just any maybe final questions, or comments? Maybe drop an emoji in the chat, or drop like flowers or something, just to let us know you guys excited, you feel more confident in terms of the structure and how the session reports go and why they're so important in what we do as G4G.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Professor.
With a slow response from both mentors and mentees in terms of giving feedback, what I also normally do is that with online, it's easier. So I ask them to write, there are those who do not want to voice out, but are good in writing. So I also normally take screenshots of what they have indicated, because it's part of feedback, and put it in the report. It also helps in cases where you get low response from the feedback form, but at least there would be something captured during the session in a way of them giving feedback in the chat box.
Okay, great. Thanks, Professor. I think that's definitely important sharing. Thank you for that. And thank you, ladies, for all the comments. Yeah, the team has worked quite hard putting this together. Okay, so now to tie it all together, it was a very content heavy last hour and a bit. So we have a little activity that we have planned. So basically we will going to break out rooms, and we are going to share with you guys an example of a mentee feedback response. So in terms of the Excel sheet along with the G4G PowerPoint template. And so in your little groups, go through that data and prepare a slide or two in terms of the information that has been shared. Be creative, leverage on each other's strengths. I think 20 minutes should be sufficient for us to actually do the group work. I am just going to share the information in the chat. Can you guys maybe just confirm that you have received it before we go into the breakout rooms? Okay, great. I see you guys have received it. Karabo, will you please initiate the breakout rooms for us?
Okay. Okay, let me do that. So ladies, when I assign you into the breakout rooms, you'll get an option, or you'll see an option that says I think it says accept or something. Yeah, there's an option that will pop out. So please select it to join the room. Okay, please do that, ladies. Okay, so Kiravani, Kini, and let me.
And Tilly.
Yeah, and Tilly, sorry. Yeah, so let me assign you ladies then, because remember you said I should assign first, and then I'll add you ladies into the other. Is it fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone out of their rooms?
Yes.
Okay, so I think maybe before we get into the feedback from the activities, you guys maybe want to share how the activity went. Were you comfortable going through the data? Um, was it as stressful for you as it was for me?
Very stressful, very, very stressful.
Ours was
Okay.
ours was very nice. Sandra got everything covered. My gosh, she's so good. And I can't wait for her to present it. You guys will love it. Like I'm so happy right now. But
Okay, Tali.
I don't want to take the spotlights. I'm gonna shine it on Sandra for real.
Okay, feel like since Sandra's done such a good job and I haven't even seen her presentation as yet, but I'm already super excited. Maybe that is the room we can kick things off with.
Okay, yes, I will. Hello, ladies. So yeah, I'm happy to share my screen. So here it is. Let me make it in full mode. So yeah, we had a very good session, but it was not just me. I also had very good help. So we started with the Excel analysis, where all the ladies helped me in pointing out what were the most comments for the qualitative questions, and we figured out how many gave a 5-star rating. We called this now the Pink Ladies cohort because pink is my favorite color. And all seem to like pink. So that's just the name we gave our cohort. And this was the session 1 report from the mentees. That's what we understood. And then on the first page, we just wanted to show here how many of the mentees out of this Excel file gave the session a rating of 5, and it was a very good result. It was 87%, which was amazing. And here we just added a picture. It's from the G4G website. We just thought it's fitting so nicely because all the ladies are wearing pink t-shirts there as well. So this seems to be like a very, very good first session with 87% giving a rating of 5. And then we went a bit more down deep into the qualitative feedback. And here we picked out the 2 questions. What did you enjoy most about the session? And here it was quite clear that most of the mentees really, really liked that they could build on their confidence. So they got much more confident in the session. They had the chance to meet new people. And they also liked that the mentors created an atmosphere where they could really be open and comfortable. After the session, they feel most empowered to speak up in front of people, which I think is a great outcome, be a better version of themselves. And one lady also said, or one girl said she will be a stronger and bolder woman after the session, which I think is amazing. So overall, this was what we picked up from the qualitative positive feedback out of the Excel file. And then on the lessons learned, or more like areas of improvement, this shows again that like many girls really said nothing, it's already amazing. But the only thing that came up many times was to have more time, especially more time in circles, which shows what you ladies also said earlier, that the mentees mostly open up in the circles, right? So yeah, we wanted to point this out. But overall, we had the feeling that it was a very good session and the mentees felt very comfortable and learned to speak up in front of other people. That's it from our side, from the Pink Ladies.
That was brilliant, and I am so impressed. Sandra, if you ever want to do more work for
Yeah.
the M&E, you have a space in
I've
our
already secured
committee.
her. I was like, you know what?
Oh,
We're
you already
Yes, happy to
That's
do that,
amazing.
ladies. It's also so great to meet all of you today. I really enjoyed the session.
Okay, no, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
then
Thank
I
you for
stop
that,
share.
Sandra. Okay, great. Next group, who do we have any volunteers? Any volunteers? Kenny, where's your room? Maybe you must go next.
I don't know if anyone would want to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. I was saying, I don't know if anyone wants to present, but we took a different approach. We decided to focus on one area.
Okay.
Buttons. I don't know, does anyone want to share? Jeanette, do you want to do it? Just walk us through what we did. And she was like, nope.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Kenny. Firstly, Sandra, I don't know how and where you guys got time for all those
Yeah.
details,
I was
pictures, and
yes.
you are
Can I
welcome to
just
join our
say,
cohort, Sandra. I'm
can I,
recruiting as well. I don't know where you guys got time for all of that.
can I
Oh
say
my
we
goodness,
finished it
in detail.
in the first half? It was done before we were even, when you guys said more time, we're like, oh.
You guys
I think they
cheated. You all
pre-planned this. They did it
cheated.
before everything. Before the session, they all
Okay.
did it, and then they came with it. That's actually what happened. We've onto
Yeah.
you.
Yes, I'm a little bit thrown off by that, but also inspired. Thank you, Kenny. You were amazing. Our whole team was amazing. So we took an approach of looking at one section, and we decided on starting with the numbers. Kenele is going to share. We looked at the question, after today's session, what do you feel most empowered to do? And we came up with the three main themes. And then, so like gaining confidence, it came up a lot. 25 of the 32 mentees, and that was 78%, with one mentee stating that taking up space and being a leader is what she got after the session. And another theme was being empowered, and that was 11 out of the 32 mentees, so 34% of those, with one mentee stating, I feel empowered to express myself and speak as well as never as well, and never let anyone put me down. And then the third theme was self-expression and speaking up. 7 out of the 22 of the mentees mentioned that, so 22% of them, with one stating, conquer my fear, and to everyone, and to overcome my fear. Thought that was quite powerful, and to also build my relationships based on trust. Kinelu was amazing guiding us. We were a little bit confused and struggled a little bit, but everyone had great input. And we came up with this, ladies, and that's it from my side. I don't know if anyone else wants to add on, but we just took that approach. It was easier to look at one section as opposed to going through all the questions for the purpose of the exercise. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything. Please do.
From our group, no? Maybe Pusa was like our big speaker during this session. But she did well. I think, yeah, so this approach is what we did, just to focus on one section, taking out the qualitative or quantitative and looking for common themes. Yeah, I don't know how you guys did it so fast. I'm 100% sure you guys pre-planned it, but anyway, other group. Tilly, tell us the truth.
If I tell you now, Guinea, listen, all I said was we should do an intro. And then someone else said, oh, let's do this. But she was so fast. Sandra was so fast. She's like, okay, here. And then what else should I say? And then we all went through the deck and we're like, oh, you should use this comment. Listen, it was so fast. Like within 10 minutes, we were all, that's how like I was with creative geniuses. I don't want to lie, no cheating, nothing. We even started maybe a minute late because we're like, what are we supposed to do? And we're like, okay, we figured it out. Listen, if you're good, you're good.
Yeah. But thank you to my team. I know I had some 2 people who were super new, literally did the training last week for mentors. So never joined a cohort. So this is great to work it through. Yeah. They're new.
Oh,
So
well done, Kenny. Your team also did great. I am super impressed with everything that's been done so far. Let's get on to the next room. Karabo, I'm not sure which rooms have already went.
Yep.
It's your group, Kira. Your group must still
Yeah,
go.
it's your group.
Okay, so my group should go. Okay, so I will share, and then it's going to be a group effort. So I think before I obviously hand over to my team, I will tell you guys, Google Slides was the enemy of progress in our session. Like that was our biggest issue. Like we struggled, and I definitely have some learning to do on my side. Yeah, so we weren't creative enough to come up with a group name. We were just a very panicked group, is what I could say. There were lots of like shouting because we were panicking. But yeah, I think let's get into our feedback. So I think maybe in terms of the approach that we took, um, we kind of we tried to go through all of the questions, and we kind of split up individually, worked on a slide, and then compiled it together. So that was basically the approach that we then took. Um, so Patience, you actually did the slide. Do you want to take us through that?
All right, thank you, Kiravan. Good morning, ladies. So I looked at the segment where the mentees were supposed to share their skills on how they've improved. So that is the rating of the session. 26 mentees are rated, showing that their skills have improved. Some are now bold, some courageous, and their leadership had improved. So I was just taking a bit of the skills up in there that people were just writing. And then three stated that they are, three rated four, stating that their confidence had improved, which is about 10%, and only one rated that rated, like she gave three, but she didn't give the explanation. So basically, that's the rating of the session. But otherwise, the mentees really showed that it was an amazing session. Yeah. Thank you. Back to you, Kiravan.
Thank you, Patience. Okay, so uh, I am so bad with names. Mko, would you then take us through your slide?
Hi everyone. So I am Makuboshiani and I'm coming from room 2. This was the slide where we were reporting on what the mentees enjoyed the most about the session. We decided to divide it up into the general themes, the recurring themes, and there was an appreciation for the mentors, and most people also spoke about how they were offered a safe space and trust was built during the session, which was fantastic because that's what the first session is about. They also expressed a sense of confidence, social connection, and a sense of feeling welcomed. That was just the general theme, a safe space. People were feeling real welcomed, and that was exciting. However, we did see one negative experience, and this was solely because the person's phone died and they were not able to participate in the group sessions. The overall sentiments were that they felt empowered, it was fun, productive, and they were able to form meaningful relationships and trust. Thank you.
Okay. And then Nonku, on to oopsies. On to you.
All right. So they were the mentees were encouraged and they were very confident to speak up for their truth and expressing themselves. And they also said that they will be able to lead by example through their fears and standing up for others also and for themselves. So that's more the summary around there. Thank you.
Yep. And then in terms of the changes that the mentees said they will make following the session, we identified 3 themes, which was to build confidence and self-belief, speak out more and share their opinions, and also to surround themselves with positivity. Then we just added some of the quotes that was followed, that was shared from the feedback. And then to tie it all off, Noku, you can also do this slide.
All right. So from the lesson learned, they've requested more time. Most of the mentees requested more time, and they also wanted to promote putting cameras on so that everyone is comfortable with each other. They get to know each other. And also one indicated that if the agenda should be provided in advance so that they can also prepare themselves. Overall, this was only one that's really looking into the bigger future, where it looks in terms of having G4G hosting therapy sessions, anxiety and depression talks, and also hosting school visits where G4G can be really be heard and encouraging ladies out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nonku, and thank you to the rest of the guys that I was in a team with. You guys did great. I think, just having now seen 3 presentations, we were all given the same set of data. A lot of the themes were the same, but I mean, the way the information is presented and the way we analyzed the data or interpreted it is so different. And I love that. It shows the diversity that we have as a community. So yeah. Karabo, are there more rooms?
No, it was just only 3 rooms because it's the few of us. Yeah. So
Okay.
you guys are
No,
back.
we are done. Okay, great. First of all, ladies, thank you to the M&E team. I just want to tell you guys are amazing. You guys are the bomb.com. And I don't think I would have been able to host this training session without you guys. You did great. And then obviously the biggest thank you to everyone who attended this session. I was, I'll be very honest with you guys. I was so nervous coming into the session because it's my first, like I said, public session that I'm hosting after taking over from Rita, who spearheaded M&E for G4G on a global basis. But I think you guys made the session super fun. As much as we put together the content, I've learned so much from the experience that has been shared from everyone on the call. So the biggest thank you, biggest hug and love being sent to all of you. I think just in closing off, I don't know if there are any comments from anyone on the call.
Flowers to everyone.
Yes,
Flowers.
flowers to everyone. Thank you. I'm seeing all the comments. You guys are great. I think, based on the presentations that I have seen, the M&E team is always looking for people to assist us. So if anyone wants to be part of our committee on how you can help, I mean, we do so much more than just the monitoring. As part of the South African committee, we also help out, in terms of the dashboards and, definitely sessions that will happen later on and where the need is. I think, if you guys have any questions or comments, just share it with us. And then Sandra, I see your hand is raised.
Yes. I have one question. So say, for example, I will do the report of our first session that will only start in September. Is it then that this person is doing the report for all 6 sessions, or are different persons doing the reports after each session?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so we actually chatted about this earlier this week, and typically I mean, ideally, when GPT started and we were still very small, you'd have just your coordinator doing all of it, but it can be time consuming. I mean, everyone has
Yeah.
jobs. We do this on a voluntary basis. And so it's always nice to get everyone, like other mentors, to assist and champion a session report. Something we found really nice and useful is you have a coordinator, but for the different sessions, to get mentors to actually facilitate that session. And if you are the one facilitating that session, then it is your responsibility to put together that session report. I mean, obviously, you're not in it alone. We're a community, we're a cohort, so there is help available from the rest of the team. But I would advise that you give everyone a chance to give a
Yeah.
stab at the report, to get comfortable with it, to facilitate a session, because that also then gives them the confidence to one day start their own cohort, which ultimately is the goal. So yeah.
Yeah, understood. Thank you so much.
Okay, great, Sandra. Yeah, I think just one more thing in closing. We will share the presentation that we've done today, and we will share a Word template of the report along with the recording if you want to go back and listen to our voices again. So we will definitely do that. Karabo will share that information with everyone on the call, but then we will also share it on the larger groups for people who have not attended, but want to go back through the information. So yeah, thank you, ladies. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and don't be strangers. My team will not be strangers to you. You will have Karabo, Kini, and Tilly nagging you when your reports are overdue. So you'll become very familiar with them. So great. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
ladies. Bye.